How's it going, everybody out there in Engine Builders Magazine world? I'm Brian Gawlik, owner, driver of the Gawlik-SGRO Racing Top Alcohol Funny Car. We're here live at the shop this Saturday morning doing a Instagram takeover for Engine Builders. Going to give you a quick tour of the shop, here at the house, and show you what we have and what we do for fun. I have Tom filming, my clutch guy. He's out from Ohio. Lou's in the shop right now, probably sitting, waiting for us to come inside. But if you look around outside here, you'll see the trailer is sitting over here to the, I guess would be your right, in the woods here in Slatington, Pennsylvania. Nice and quiet. Little cool this morning. I think we're on winter 3.0, but it's pretty nice. It's better than having the white stuff everywhere. But so we're gonna go inside, just show you a quick tour of the shop, show you upstairs the playroom, as we like to call it, or Lou's lounge, for lack of a better way of putting it. What we do to keep ourselves preoccupied when we're tired of working on the race car, and we'll go from there. So let's go on inside. That, of course, is Lou standing to the right. And this is the poor life decision that I've decided to endeavor on and take up all my free time. Heated garage. Lou keeps it heated. We have a tenant upstairs that keeps the mice away and keeps everything clean. But if you take a look right here to the right, there's an elevator. One of the main reasons Lou acquired this property for the upstairs, which you'll see shortly. But up front here we have nothing more than a workbench covered in aluminum. It's nice to have a good workbench so you can work on things, whatever we need to do. And if you mess it up, you just replace it with a new piece of aluminum. If you look around in the background of where we're walking around, you'll see a lot of pictures. These are all Lou's race cars in the past, and of course the current car we have that we're out there with. Lou's been around longer than I've been alive, of course, because he's older than me, but he's been racing longer than I've been alive. Started with Plymouth Fury, Sport Fury, correct? He had Plymouth Sport Fury called Nunzio's Headache, which was his father's name, go figure. He wasn't very fond of it, racing, of course, your kids, but it kind of evolved from there. But, to a front engine dragster, and then he bought his first funny car, which was the Challenger, and then evolved into the Black Magic funny car, and then he wanted to go faster, so he bought the alcohol car, and that's where I met him. I met him with his alcohol car, and that's what got me sucked into this pretty hard. I was involved in nostalgia funny cars for a little while, and the nostalgia funny cars was a lot of fun, and I still love doing it. But I was younger and I missed that competition. And because with match racing, you're out there to have fun, which is, don't get me wrong, a lot of fun. But getting involved with Lou and having the competition and being out there in front of thousands of people, that's what really got my attention. So I started helping him. So moving along, you see we just have everything laid out. We're going to be putting this motor together today after we finish the tour here real quick. We got two rods and pistons to put in. We're going to head gaskets, cylinder heads, rockers, and then we're going to put the blower on. It's a little bit of a process. We have everything already checked and looked at. Cylinder heads are ready to go. I went through the cylinder heads and checked the valve height, or spring height, made sure the spring pressures are good at the seat, inspected all the valves, inspected the cylinder heads, make sure there's no visible damage or obvious damage that would inhibit us from using them, or if we have to send them out for repair. We do tear this motor down after every race because we're a firm believer in inspections are free. You find something here at the shop, it's a lot less expensive here than it is at the racetrack. So we tear it down, we inspect it, we look at everything, and we put it back together, and then we're ready to go racing again. So over here is the body. We just picked it up this past week from Specialized Autocraft. We had a fire at Maple Grove and did some damage to the paint, etc. The guys at Specialized, Jeff and Jeff, went through, fixed it all, cleaned it up, made it look good again. Very proud that it's a painted car, not a wrapped car. Kind of going back to our nostalgia roots where things should be painted and look nice versus a cookie cutter wrap or whatever. But and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just what I prefer to do. It's where my roots are from, and you know, fortunately those guys are willing to help us out and make it look good. Right behind me you see an Asteroids, which might be a little telltale of what's going on upstairs. Lou and myself, more so Lou than me, but we like to endeavor with older arcade machines and, you know, repair them and have some fun with it, and then flip them and get another one and do it again. You know, the race car is a lot of work, and it's nice to break it up and do different things, and you know, so it's not as monotonous because it is a lot of work. Everybody knows racing is work. That's all it is. So, and how much work you put into it is depending on how well you're willing to do. Over here we have an old 50s Clark forklift that we acquired from a friend that was literally engulfed in sticker bushes and weeds for probably 10 years. We dug it out, got it running, and then we drug it back here. Lou put a lot of work into it to get it running, but running better, I should say. Had a couple leaks, took care of those, but now we use that so we don't have to break our back. You know, lifting drums in and out of trucks into the trailer, etc. Nothing real crazy here. We have, you know, a press if we need to push it, you know, push anything apart, etc. Instead of banging with a hammer. Sandblaster to clean things up. Old school drill press that Lou actually found in the trash that works awesome. You know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And then we have an old lathe here that, you know how lathes go. The older they are, they're usually pretty good. And it's nothing huge, but it gets the job done. And you know, anything we need to do, etc., from fixing something or making anything, we go from there. I'm going to sneak around here, Tom. Obviously, we have our Van Norman FG5000 for cutting our floaters. Pick this up. You know, everybody with an alcohol car, nitro car, they pretty much have one. So, you know, it's what you do. And then I got a tabletop style clutch chipper, so you're not kneeling on the ground, etc. Put a door on the top of it so that it keeps the dust in. This actually has a vacuum system to, when you're cutting, it sucks all the chips up so that it doesn't make a mess everywhere. You know, just a couple of things, belt sanders, grinders, you know, that's the standard shop equipment, but you know, that's basically all we need to do what we need to do. And if we need to do anything more than that, fortunately we have friends that can help us out, and we go over to their shop and we do what we got to do. So we're going to go upstairs real quick, take a look around, and you get to see a little bit of rest of relaxation, Lou's lounge up here. So you see, it's again nothing but a bunch of vintage games. They all work, you know, and they all have their issues as far as when you get them and you have to repair them. You know, we have well, Lou has 6 pinballs up here. Have of course the classic nitro ground shaker, etc. Lou plays the drums, so every once in a while he comes up here and drops a beat, if you want to call it that. You know, and it's just all little things that, you know, man cave, you could call it, and things to have fun and do whatever we want to do. You know, come up here and play whatever it is and just whatever. And then of course we're competitive, so we have to do better than each other and you know, beat each other on our high scores and whatnot. But Lou's better at me than Miss Pac-Man, so I'll let him. It is what it is. He plays it every day. So, you know, and a lot of the neon signs, all the neon signs work. When this place is lit up, it's a lot of fun. And, you know, had a couple New Year's Eve parties up here with him, and yeah, so I'm sure a lot of these guys out there that have shops, etc., they have some sort of relaxation area, you would call it, whether it's at home or etc. Fortunately, it's here, it's just upstairs. We don't have to go far to just say, we're done, let's go have some fun. But you know, it's nice up here, it's quiet, we can do what we need to do, and you know, get our stuff done and focus on what we need to do. The last thing I'll show you before we come down is this custom railing he had made back when he was nostalgia racing. There are a bunch of pistons and rods that were used in the railing in his, I think it was his Challenger. I could be wrong on that, but really nice railing. It's just a little touch to, you know, the racer end of what Lou has done in the past. And, you know, it kind of fits the whole theme here as far as what we do. So we're gonna go back downstairs. You see again a couple pictures of what Lou used to do back in the day. That's his front engine dragster, and then the Demon. But that was whoops. But so we're gonna go back downstairs. We're gonna pop these 2 pistons in rod assemblies and start putting her back together.
You're gonna do some work now?
Not that it never ends, but. So you see, we have 6 in here already. We have 2 sitting out. Obviously, we didn't want to bore the video with doing all 8 of them. I mean, when you see 1 or 2 done, you get the idea. And we can't put the cylinder heads on unless they're all in there. So for the speed of the video and just the process, we have a lot of things prepared ahead of time to do. Once we get the rods and pistons in, we'll get the oil pan on. We can drop the lifters in, which have been soaking since we took it apart. After every race, I tend to put them in an ultrasonic cleaner, clean all the old oil and any possible debris that's in the rollers out. I do that for 2 days, and then I just let them sit in there until we're ready to reassemble a motor. You know, just an added inspection, make sure the rollers feel good, etc. So, if you're ready, I'm ready. I'm gonna throw some gloves on.
Feel free to ask questions too, guys.
We can talk while we work. I'm gonna lay down here on my nice Max kneeling pad, courtesy of Max Tie Downs.
You ready?
I'm ready. Torque wrench is set. I step torque all my rods. Some guys believe in that, some guys don't. We believe in don't fix what's not broken. It's always worked for us. Lou's pre-lubing the rod caps right now. We're gonna put them up. I'll zing them up with an impact gun, you know, nice and slow. Wait until the next rod's in, and then I'll torque them together so you don't have any rod twist. When both rods are there, they don't twist as much. Check to make sure numbers to numbers. That does say 2 on there, right, Savage?
I didn't notice.
It's a 2. Lou doesn't make mistakes.
Number 7.
It's number 7. That was the joke. Guess that's dripping in oil.
So the engine combination that we run is a Brad Anderson engine. It's styled after the Hemi.
426 Hemi specifically.
Yeah.
All billet Brad Anderson. We run a 150 stroke, 4467 bore. Brad 6-cylinder heads. They're an older cylinder head, but there's really not much difference between the cylinder heads other than a couple differences: valve size, slight increase in valve size, runner length, runner chamber size. This is the combination that Lou ran when he had his alcohol car, and it's the combination we've had since we started, and it's a very solid, proven combination. Yeah, I'm ready for the next one when you're ready, Lou. Hopefully this one goes in easy.
Hey. So we were all gearheads before we kind of got into racing to begin with.
Unfortunately.
You know, Lou did a promo video because he used to be a Max tool dealer, and he talks briefly in that promo video about getting into mini bikes. You know, we were all kind of hot rodders and into muscle cars growing up and whatnot. So transferring into racing and you know, doing the motors, you know, it all just kind of transferred.
I always joke with a lot of people and say that my parents didn't love me. I didn't get to see a drag strip until I was 20. It's the first time I saw a drag strip. I was 20 years old with my father. We went to Maple Grove for the Super Chevy show, and It's the first time I saw anything like that. We were there for the car show end of it. We had, he still has it. It's a 77 G20 shorty van, and that's his project for, we're gonna call it a hippie van, whatever you want to call it. He's always wanted to do one. So we went to the car show, and that's when I saw him, and really kind of pushed my passion for cars in general. And it kind of grew from there. You know, I decided I wanted to start working on them. Now this one I'm going to have a little bit of grunt work because the rod torque on these is 125, believe it or not.
Lou's always got some sort of story about when he was going to Englishtown as a kid. When was the first time you were at the track, Lou?
100 years ago. I was probably 10, 12 years old. Cousin of mine took me, and I remember it was like yesterday. Jungle Jim was match racing Gary Bergen, and it was loud, and there was fire and colors, and that's me, baby.
Could have been the drugs from the air.
I know. And just, you know, went from there. I was mechanical as a kid, working on mowers and mini bikes and stuff, and just got hooked on the cars. And I bought my first car when I was 15, a 70 Challenger 446 pack original car. I had that for 22 years. And then me and two friends wanted to go drag racing. We would go to Englishtown all the time because I grew up a half hour from there. And we bought two 64 Plymouth Sport Furies, and we took the better one and turned it into a race car. And then things kind of went sour with the, you know, the partnership. So I bought everything, and you know, just put the car together. It ran 1080s or something, and I just used to, yeah, bracket race it. But I wasn't into the bracket racing. I was just I would always try and get the car to go faster, faster, faster. Mm-hmm. And then I started hanging around a chassis shop, a race car shop in Jersey, and built a front engine car. And I was at Island Dragway running it one time, and Brian Bennett had Gene Snow's old rambunctious funny car, and they rolled that out of there, and I was like, that was it. So I got word of Jeff Rapp's old high anxiety Plymouth Arrow was sitting. I went and looked at that. I ended up buying that from him. As I was working on that, I heard there was a 70 Challenger funny car for sale, and had the Challenger street car, so I ended up buying that and selling the Arrow, and then, you know, ran that when it was legal to go 750s. That was an old Woody Gilmore chassis. It was a wide chassis. It was kind of scary for the, you know, had more power in it than the nitro motor they had originally in 1970. I shook it a couple times and broke some tubes and fixed, you know, replaced the tubing and whatever. So I started looking for something that I could go a little quicker, and I found a Demon out in Anaheim, California, and had that shipped out here, sight unseen, and got that running. That was a good car. It was fun. I actually made some money match racing with it and stuff. But in the midst of all that, I was helping Frank Manzo for a couple years with his car, and I really wanted to have an alcohol car to own and operate it. And you know, I bought a car from him. I bought Tasca's motor when he was making a switch to fuel, and you know, did that for 3-4 years, whatever it was, and did all right. You know, I had fun, but it was a lot of work, and it was mostly on me. You know, it was hard to get a good group of guys together all the time, you know, especially at the shop in between races and stuff. And the money part of it, you know, I'm not a good guy to go try and find money, and you know, I'm used to working for my money. You know, I quit. That was that. You know, I sold everything, paid off my debt, and then a few later, Brian comes along and whatever wants to get involved with racing again or something. And here we are.
You got some young kids influencing your bad decisions.
Well, now I sit in the chair and I watch everybody work. And, you know, that again, or, you know, just make sure I don't do nothing stupid that cost them a lot of money. But, you know, the tuning part of it, I've been doing some stupid stuff myself, so trying to get that figured out. And, yeah, it's fun, it's something to do, and, you know, I still love it, so.
See, what he failed to mention was tequila was involved in the decision to go racing again. But that's the good story. You have to ask him in person for that one. But so while he was talking there, I'm sure you heard me. I was under here just putting the pan up, zigging the bolts up. I come back and check them with a wrench just to make sure. This motor is a dry sump system. So if you notice, the pan's pretty tiny. We have a oil tank in the front of the car, which acts as ballast for the front end for weight. And you know, everything on these cars are very purpose driven. They all have a job to do and a secondary job like ballast or whatever the case may be. In the end, it's all designed and created by people being killed or hurt. That's why the rule book is the way it is, and why the cars are the way they are. And when you see somebody get in an accident, people walk away because other people didn't. So I can tell you that I'm not one to fight rules and reasons for why people are, why they were supposed to do things. Alright, we're pretty much done down here. Lifters are ready to go in. We can put cylinder heads on. And keep moving forward. If you guys don't have a lay down mat, max tie downs, let me tell you. It's much better than concrete or grass or stones, whatever the case is. As mentioned before, I pre-soak the lifters. I'm just going to set them down in here so they drain a little bit so I can see the numbers.
And again, we run a Brad Anderson Hemi combination. It's 536 cubic inches.
521.
521 cubic inches. Cylinder bore is
4467.
and GRP connecting rods.
These are R&Rs. Currently in it. We normally run GRPs.
Yeah.
Due to obvious reasons with COVID, we had issues getting rods, just like anybody else. Fortunately, R&R was able to get us, if you're looking for silicone, it's on the bench. R&R was able to get us a set of rods in the interim last year. We ended up not using them to, because we didn't need them. We had them sitting on the shelf, and that was great. And we have a bunch of rods sitting on the shelf now, fortunately, this year, which is the first time in a long time. But we decided we're going to run the R&Rs now and use them up, because sitting on the shelf is just a waste of money. We might as well spend the money and enjoy them for a little while. That's a one. We label ours, keep them in the same holes all the time. Fingers of fury. A little slippery with this Penn Grade 1 oil. Nitro 70. Obviously you can see it's the green oil. 2. That's that.
What thickness head gasket do we put on here?
We run anywhere between a 68 and 75. All depends on atmosphere, etc.
And like what Brian was saying, it's all purpose, you know, everything's purpose. So it's a copper head gasket. The cylinder heads are O-ringed. So once we torque the cylinder head down, that's when it actually makes the sealing surface in the head gasket.
As I mentioned before, we have the dry sump oil tank up here, and pretty much just have a measurement in my head how much I put up front versus what I put in the pan. But it comes out to being like 4.5 to 5 quarts that end up in the pan. The rest go in here. And obviously this is the very green Penn Grade 1 once again.
This normally goes a lot faster at the racetrack because the oil's a little warm. It's
Yes.
a little cold here, so.
Yeah, I forgot to take it out of the shop the other day, or out of the trailer, and bring it in the shop so it's warm, so the oil is still pretty cold. I'm just double checking that we're at a good level. Dump this in the pan, in the motor here.
I can put this head on?
You can put that head on, unless you want me to do it. That drain. Gaskets here. And those are wondering if we're rushing, we're doing this fast, we're doing this slow. Not much different than what we do at the racetrack. Racetrack, we have a little bit more haste if we're in the middle of a rush. You know, if we have a run coming up soon, if we have to make the next qualifier, for any reason we have to pull the cylinder heads off or do any sort of extensive repair work. But when you're rushing, that increases the amount of opportunity that you have to make mistakes. And mistakes are expensive, so take your time, make sure it's right. We always check each other with what we do and just talk. Make sure that we did everything, and you know, checks and balances. Can't be any egos with this stuff, because egos get people hurt or killed. And we like to have fun more than anything. You know, the idea is to be able to go to the racetrack, go fast, make some noise, and then go and eat and enjoy ourselves. You know, it's
I like the eating part.
specifically ice cream. But I like ice cream too, so I can't complain.
We all like ice cream.
It's kind of our thing. Everywhere we go, when we go to a race, we always plan on where we stay at a hotel or where we're going out to eat that night based off of an ice cream location. So, you know, it's the important things that matter. this other cylinder head on myself. Inside of these are new fancy washers versus just a little round washer. It's machined to the shape of the inside of the block to spread the load out against the inside pad.
So again, cubic inches is, what'd you say, 520?
521.
521. And then horsepower is estimated
Somewhere between 400 and 4,500, they say, but in the end, it really doesn't matter. It's all how much you can get to the paper. You know, some guys say they make 3,500, you know, etc. It's somewhere up there. It's a lot.
Yeah, the horsepower is plenty for what we're trying to accomplish. It's all a matter of what you can do with the clutch to get it applied to the surface, more or less.
And that's the hardest part. You know, you can make all this power, but if you can't get it to stick, it's irrelevant.
And what you saw Lou doing there, running it down with the impact, those are electric impacts and they're only 3/8. So the torque spec on the cylinder head is way higher than what the electric impact will actually do. So it's more or less just for efficiency and speed for us to run everything down with the electrics. And then we'll go back over everything and actually set it to a torque spec.
Which is what I'm going to do next. There's a whole step process to step torquing these down. And as I mentioned before, you know, when we got back from Gainesville, we tore the motor down. Cylinder heads came completely apart, clean everything, inspect it. I measure all the seated spring pressures, make sure everything's okay. And if I need to make any adjustments, I do. Reassemble it. And here we are.
What's the final torque on the heads?
So there's 3 different torque levels that we go to. The top row here finishes at 150. These finish at 120. And then the insides are 50. We're at 100. We'll go to 100.
What do we have for seat pressure on the valve springs as well?
Seat pressure on the springs, when the springs are new, they're about 560 to 580. Open pressure, I think, is somewhere around 1400. Just check them. You have to snug it all or no? Yeah.
You put them on, I don't touch them.
Okay.
So this car runs on methanol fuel. Alcohol is where the term for it. Top alcohol funny car is the class that we run. Camshaft driven pump. How many gallons per minute is the pump?
At 8,000 RPM is 17.5 gallons, I think, is what it is. I think that's what it is.
A lot of what you see on the front of the motor, we don't necessarily take all apart all the time. Off-season maintenance is when that'll come apart in order to get the block washed and fully inspected and whatnot. But unless we have something catastrophic happen while we're at a race, our typical in-between race maintenance, like Brian was saying, was to pull the motor down. We'll take all the pistons out, inspect them all, go over the heads, make sure everything's okay before we get back to the track, and then we come up with a problem that we could have averted, just to make sure that the car's in good shape by the time we get to the track and we don't have to thrash to get anything accomplished. Now that it's getting a little warm. You ready for me on that side, Lou?
Yep.
Tom's over here loving life. I don't have to do nothing. As I mentioned before, Tom's our clutch guy. He takes care of everything behind the motor plate, but before he got here, in the previous weeks, I took care of all that for him. I want Tom to be happy.
So what are you putting on the threads there, Lou?
Peanut butter. This is
Not Jif peanut butter.
Yeah.
But
it's like the assembly. It keeps the nuts from galling. It makes it a better torque, smoother torque. Really, we call it peanut butter. It tastes kind of like chicken.
So because the motor does come apart often, that's just one of the steps that we take in order to protect the threads and basically the investment of the engine and whatnot.
And if you don't get proper torque, you blow a head gasket because it's not clamping properly.
Correct.
Remember that those are going to be torqued in.
So on initial assembly, we'll run everything down with the electric impact, just for speed, more or less. And then what Brian's doing with the torque wrench, it's not necessarily adding additional torque, it's just going through a procedure to make sure that the cylinder head torques down evenly and correctly. And with the Hemi, having the studs that go into the lifter valley, you just have to make sure that you go through the proper procedure to make sure that everything is tightened in the correct order. It's like, again, it's not necessarily that we're adding additional torque, it's just a step in order to get the cylinder head tightened properly.
At least that's what they say on the internet to do.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the questions, guys. And again, one of the things with the torque procedure on the heads is we do run copper gaskets. So when the head gaskets are brand new, they're just as smooth all the way across. There's no actual sealing rings or anything in the head gasket. So the torque procedure is much more important when the gaskets are new, because with the heads being O-ringed, as you tighten the head gasket, as you tighten the cylinder head down, the head gasket is going to be impressed and actually create the sealing surface, rather than it being there when it was made.
As you were watching, Lou was just doing this rocker one. I'm putting my side on now, rocker assembly. I did have these completely apart too, to clean them as well as inspect. And I even since we burned a couple pistons down in Florida, I took all the rocker arms apart, soaked these in the ultrasonic cleaner to try to make sure that there was no debris or anything in the rollers to cause premature failure. Same boat, soaked them in the oil for a couple days and reassembled them, ready to go. That's why these Allens are loose, because we don't torque those down until these are tight to make sure the stands are in the proper location.
There's been recent YouTube videos of guys putting these cars on the hub dynos.
Yes. Mainly pro mod guys.
Yeah, and
Couple fun cars.
we're not really 100% sure how exactly. I think they're mostly converter cars that are doing that, because we've had conversation before about how you can accurately measure the horsepower of the motor, it being a clutch car, because it's hard to simulate enough load with these cars in order to get a proper horsepower measurement. I know with the fuel cars, it's all mathematics. They don't actually have anything, again, that can't simulate enough proper load to generate a specific number for horsepower.
Every time we go out to the racetrack, the conditions are different. Air, traction, how the prep was done, how well the prep was done. If the prep is consistent from the starting line to the finish, etc. That all has factors involved, and our fuel system is directly related to how you slip the clutch. You know, you tug the motor too hard because the clutch locks up too early, and if it happens to not shake, you pull RPM from the motor, which is fuel. Our cam drives our fuel pump, so if we're expecting to have, say, 9,000 RPM, and we only have 8,500, based off looking at our chart and what our fuel pump flows, that's right, Lou, we're going to be 500 RPM low on fuel. And that basically means you go lean. You go lean, you hurt stuff. So I never understood the dyno, because it's not the racetrack. The racetrack affects how these things run. I guess you can get them timed close and make sure everything's working as it should. Maybe I'm not just smart enough to understand that. Well, we can go with that. I'm okay with that.
But we were saying earlier, it's roughly how much horsepower?
I mean, again, anywhere from 3,500 to 4,500. Obviously, we like to say it's more because it makes us look cooler, but it's somewhere in that range.
Makes you look cooler.
I don't know about that. I guess we're ready for, I could silicone these in.
Yeah. Did you take these out?
No.
Sure, no problem. Our pleasure. If there's one thing about sportsman racers that we always say is, you know, if you take the time to walk down to where we're pitted at a national event, we all certainly love to talk, and we you know, we're most certainly willing to talk about the sport that we all love.
Unless we're busy.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
If we're in the middle of putting the motor together, or we got something going on, it's not that we don't want to talk, it's that we need to focus. And once we're done, absolutely, come back and we'll have a conversation. Talk about and answer any questions you want answered. Yes, this is weather strip adhesive, for those looking. Found that it bonds to the rubber faster. And in between warm-ups, or if we have to take the motor apart and have to make a pass in a short amount of time, it leaks a lot less. I do put a little bit of gray silicone in the corners to seal up where the cylinder head gasket and the foam meets.
No, our weight is not related to engine size. the engine size only differs in our class depending on what blower you're running. And I believe for the nitro cars now, the engine size is different than ours, right?
Yes.
Our weight across the class, I'm not sure about the fuel cars now, but our weight across the class, no matter what engine combination you're running, is 2,300 pounds.
Unless you run, well, I guess it would be different. If you run a roots combination, you're allowed, it's a 100-pound weight break. So you're allowed to be 2,200 on the roots combination.
Okay.
But the nitro thing, I actually think is 2,300, but
It's still so new that we're just not sure yet.
well, there's arguments.
And that's 2,300, you know, car, Brian, fire suit, helmet, et cetera, et cetera. Some guys push the weight real close. You know,
like pizza.
we try to do our best, but yeah, as previously stated, we all like ice cream. And they'll scale us after every pass. The only time that we'll skip scale or fuel check is if we make a qualifying run and we don't improve. If we don't improve, then your previous faster time counts, and you don't have to. We can skip scale and fuel check and get right back to the pit and get ready. You know, get into service in the car for the next pass.
No, it's not.
I'm just going to turn the valve on.
I don't think there's going to be enough for you to try it.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to take it off the project. We're going to roll the car forward. Pass this to Tom while he's still in here. Should be enough.
No, I'm good. Ready?
You can go up. Go ahead.
So we don't normally do this at the track. Normally at the track, Brian and I will actually pick the blower up and set it on the bench ourselves. But again, just one of those things where because we're at the shop for ease of our backs, Lou's got this little crane here. So we'll actually use the safety straps on the plate below the blower to pick it up and set the blower on the motor. But because the frame is further forward in the shop than where the car sits, we set the car down on the ground and we'll roll it forward so that the crane will reach.
Could you pass me that silicone, Tom? Thank you.
Sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to get all the straps even so that the blower, because it's one of those critical things, just the same as, you know, on passenger cars and whatnot. You want to make sure that when this blower sits down on the weather strip that Brian just put on the end rail gaskets, you know, we want to make sure that it's going on even. We don't want to have it move the gasket in any certain kind of way, or, you know, because this blower will push 43 43 pounds of boost. You know, so we definitely want to make sure that those end rail gaskets are good and sealed. Because it's also one of those things, if we have to do this at the racetrack, we unfortunately don't have time to let all of the silicone or the gaskets set up overnight. You know, if we do really well on the service when we need to have the blower off, the silicone and the gaskets may be able to sit for 15 minutes, you know, and then we're starting the car and we're headed up for our next pass. PSI screw blower is what we run. D rotors.
Well, we got lucky on that one. Just ran out. I gotta order more of that. Good. We set the blower on. Now me and Lou are gonna finger tight all the nuts, and we'll bring this down square as much as we can see visually.
So the reason for that is the intake manifold's actually made out of magnesium.
You want this one?
not only it being magnesium, but again, we want to make sure that everything goes down even and flat. 43 pounds of boost coming through a small area, it's going to blow out a gasket or a seal real fast.
Ready?
Yep. Next one back.
Yep. Front one.
No, I did my front.
Hold on, get that down. Front one.
Yeah.
You want the final check?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody notice what I just did? Silicone doesn't stick to wet fingers. That's a bathroom and tile grab trick. If you didn't know. Instead of having this little finger growing out of all the silicone that's squeezed out, I like to just smash it in there, but not get it all over my finger. And that's basically that. Motors together. Besides us bolting on the cylinder heads, valve covers, we don't put the push rods in until we get to the racetrack. We like to pre-lube everything we do there. Plus it keeps the valve springs from sitting open all the time. Nowadays you don't really have to do that, but we don't like changing our routine. It gives us something to do when we get to the racetrack. Well, it gives Lou something to do. And we go from there. We still have to put our blower belt on, fuel system, etc. But we have a lot of stuff to go over and make sure everything's right. Not enough time for video today, but that's basically that. So I hope you guys enjoy watching us put this motor together. Stop by anytime at the racetrack, because hopefully we're not doing it there. If we are, then it wasn't the greatest day at the races, but you know, we're always willing to talk. Don't be afraid to stop. We have a free minute and we're not doing anything, you know, not a problem. Come by, bring your kids. We'll put them in the car. You can take pictures. Love to ruin some parents' financial decisions for the future for them. Like, it didn't really happen to me, but Lou did that to me. That's his fault. So, just much later in life when I could afford to do it. So, might as well do a couple shameless plugs here. Grateful to the guys at Specialty Autocraft for doing the body for me. Grateful for the guys at Pengrave One supporting us. It's the second year now with supplying us with oil. It's great. It's the blood of our engine, and I can tell you that our engine lives because of that stuff. I mean, we've done some not so smart things and kind of expected it to be tore up, and every bearing looks perfect regardless of the material going through it. It keeps everything lubricated, and knock on wood, the stuff has been awesome for us, and I have zero interest in looking at other avenues because what works works. You don't fix what's not broken. Thanks to Max Tie Downs coming on board this year, and you know, outfitted all of our entire operation with all new straps, toe straps. Get with me if you guys are interested in their new toe strap. Has a lead on it for the guy sitting on the back of the truck or the car or van, whatever you have, so that you're not sitting there with your foot keeping the tension on it, you know, getting with the risk of ripping you off the truck or the car. Thanks to Smith Systems for all of our sensors, clutch sensor, crank sensor, etc. They supply us with all of our sensors. They do some top quality stuff. They do a lot of stuff for high-end clients that get with me, and I'll let you know who they are. But and thank you to drawing a blank here. My brain's not firing on all 8 cylinders because I just went through all this, and my mind's thinking about this thing right now. But thanks to Tub of Towels for supporting us last year and coming on this year again. And Roadrunner Race Fuels, Jeff Stricker, appreciate the help this year. Linex of Fredericksburg, Jim, thank you. It all matters. It all helps. Every little bit makes a difference. This is expensive, and it doesn't run on hard work. It runs on money, and money allows the hard work to be a little bit easier, but you still have to put it there too. So, but thank you to everybody that helps. Keeps us going. Thanks to Randy Anderson for helping us at APS with our fuel system and some of the issues we were having. Yeah, I'm excited for this year. We'll see what happens. We're going to Charlotte in 3 weeks.
Yes.
3 weeks we'll be at Charlotte 4 wide. In fact, as soon as we get off this video, I need to enter because I just realized I didn't. So I got to do that. But look forward to seeing anybody out there. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thanks for hanging out.